So what do you get for all of that though? Right? Uh, form, right? But is the platform tied to the underlying hardware, Mr. Crow?
Not at all. In fact, I mean, as you can see here, we're not even mentioning hardware in any way, shape, or form. And that's, I mean, that's where Nutanix came
Like,
from, as
I
you
don't
mentioned
think I
earlier.
hear Ben at the moment.
Oh,
I gotcha. I can hear him.
you hear me, Brian?
I gotcha, Crow.
Okay. So, I mean, Nutanix came from a hardware background, and but I mean, as you can see here, we're not mentioning hardware in any way, shape, or form. So these services that are adding on, whether it's storage services, database services, the Nutanix Cloud Manager, it's going to be able to tie in to the Nutanix platform regardless of where you're running it, and even other ones. So I mean, Nutanix Cloud Manager can put tie-ins to like VMware, as we've talked about, Azure. So it allows you to have that common management regardless of where you put the actual workload. So you can let somebody else figure out the hardware, the physical location, whether it's on-prem, somebody else's on-prem, or a hyperscaler. But just, you know, you can focus on how do I deliver these services to my organization in a consistent fashion, in the most efficient fashion, and let other people deal with kind of the bits and bytes and the hardware pieces.
Exactly. Yeah, and you can see here, we've got on the bottom of this slide, we've got NC2 kind of down here hidden. Excuse me. But I want to point out NC2 is not a product unto itself. It's NC2 is just a term that we use for running Nutanix cloud infrastructure in public cloud. Okay. Now, a lot of people don't realize that um, we're not just hyperconverged any longer. There's so much more to the Nutanix story. There's unified storage, there's database services, there's a platform for container orchestration, multi-cloud services, data lens, security central, VPCs. Like, there is a complete story here around a software defined data center. Okay. Nutanix Cloud Manager, automation, all of these things. And I'll kind of add to that in a second. But um, again, a lot of folks always sort of considered and might still consider, I get this all the time. Wait, you guys are just hyperconverged platform, right? I mean, that sounds pretty cool, but is that really what I need? Well, we've been quietly building this cloud platform since 2012. When I say quietly building a cloud platform, again, because a lot of folks, a lot of customers, a lot of prospects, they don't know who we are really or what we do, or their frame of reference sometimes is 5 years old. And so, although silence is golden, um, you know that that's not actually true. If you have kids, if you're developing a cloud platform, maybe silence is golden. But if you have kids, silence is not golden. Silence is not golden. Silence is suspicious. But with Nutanix, silence is not suspicious because we're busy in the background making something that is relative and useful for you as you go on this hybrid cloud journey. Now, once you've adopted this, right, there's so many other things that you could take advantage of. So what do you get with the Nutanix Cloud Platform with NC2? Um, you get capacity forecasting, very relevant as it relates to public cloud and private cloud. You want to be sure that you can forecast and plan for what you need. Our tool, our Prism, NCM, everything is built in to tell you what you need or what you're going to need and when you're going to need it, right? So we remove the art of trying to figure out how much of a thing you're going to need and when you're going to need it, because we actually show you capacity utilization. You could use capacity forecasting also to model workloads. Think about that for a second. You've deployed Nutanix and you want to onboard a new workload, right? You can actually model that workload within Nutanix management and determine if your existing infrastructure has what it takes to bring on that new workload. And if not, it will tell you exactly how much more you need. Cost visibility and control. This is another one. not just visibility, but control. Some of the cloud providers have tools that you can use for cost visibility and even control. But Nutanix gives you cost visibility and control of all of the Nutanix infrastructure across any public cloud. Right sizing, that's another important one because, let's face it, when you ask an engineer or a developer how much resource they need for a given VM, are they gonna tell you the bare minimum that they need? No, absolutely not. They're gonna, if you ask me, "What do you need for that VM?" I'm gonna say, 8 vCPU and, 48 gigs of RAM. Do I really need that much? No, probably not, but hey, just in case is important. And if you give me all of that just in case, well, by the end of the month, if I haven't used but maybe a quarter of that, right sizing allows you to take it back. Because if you don't take it back, you got to pay for it. Somebody's got to pay for it, right? Data services, something that we do on premises and in public cloud is provide data services, dedupe, compression, and other things like erasure coding. Does public cloud natively provide you with that for free? No, absolutely not. And it's not included. It's an additional add-on charge if it's even uh uh if that service is even capable. Remediation, automatically detecting and resolving issues, right? That's built into our core platform. Our resiliency is and our speed, of course, is the thing that many customers have leveraged to stay with us, right? It's why our number one workload on Nutanix is business critical applications. It used to be VDI years ago when I came on board as VDI. Now business critical applications and also anomaly detection. So these things that I've pointed out, these are not add-ons, right? These are not third-party products that we're adding on that, at the end of the day, you've got 13 different consoles that you got to look through for all these great things. One thing, all built in, one management console. Okay. So now, of course, you're sold on NC2 and you're going to rush over to the choice office in Kansas City and say, okay, I want that. Where is it? I want to park that somewhere. What do I do? Well, this can live in a number of different places. AWS has 32 regions. Azure has 14 regions. They're all growing in size and scope. Um, but what else do we have on the horizon?
Little thing called GCP is out there that is going to be coming soon. So, if maybe you're a GCP customer, that's going to be available in the near future as well. But the nice piece, as Dennis mentioned, is that, you know, certainly not, these hyperscalers have global availability, but not complete coverage. You can even see here too that there are certain things, cloud providers, they match their needs into the regions that are going to make it. So one may have something and another may not, or you may have some other unique requirement like data sovereignty. And Azure might have something in country that you need that AWS doesn't. And as Dennis mentioned, what happens in AWS doesn't necessarily translate directly over to Azure. So if you have to meet a business requirement like that, now you got to upskill on Azure and AWS or Azure, AWS, and GCP. So the nice piece with NC2 and the Nutanix cloud model is that we unify that management so that we can just place it where the need is, whether that's, geographically based, to get it closer, or if we have to be in a specific country for a data sovereignty, a compliance reason. But then we don't have to completely change the rest of the operating model. We just get to pick our location and say, go here.
Yeah, and I'm sure everybody already knows you don't just waltz over to the Amazon or the Azure data center and plug your own stuff in, right? You use what they've got. So you'll notice that there's a bunch of different instance types here. AWS has more instance types than Azure. Does that make AWS better than Azure? Necessarily, right? Azure has some pretty good instance types to facilitate most needs. Azure just came out with a new instance type called the AN64. But the point here is that you can lift and shift as needed. Um, but what about upgrades? But
Upgrades make it a whole lot easier as well. So in an on-prem model, you're looking at a 3 to 5 year depreciation schedule. And if in year, 2, your operating model changed, maybe you acquired a company, that's a much different type of a transaction and planning that you have where you're like, oh, can I continue to use what I have and add more on? Do I have to rebuild it entirely? So, with AWS, Azure, and soon to be GCP, you get to leverage what they've already built out and say, okay, this year, maybe that i3 worked really well for us, but hey, I've got some graphic workloads, so I need to add some of that in too. Or maybe I need to shift everything over to more compute related and maybe less memory related. But you can allow AWS and Azure to kind of vet those things out, and then you can shift your resources as your business needs dictate rather than being on a budget cycle.
yeah, and you can, I know in AWS currently, and I think it's fairly new, you can mix and match node types in the same cluster, much the same way that you do on-prem. So you're not you're not glued to a specific node type if other node types are available in a given availability zone.